Coming to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. We're still in hard NFL off-season mode, which kind of gets you thinking about the biggest stories of said off-season and how they correlate to other stories that are going to happen going into the season. And the primary story of this off-season, like it was for last off-season, like it was for the off-season before that, has been the Dallas Cowboys and their nauseating contract disputes with their superstar players who they're no doubt going to pay. They're not going to let Micah Parsons go. They were never going to let Dak Prescott go, but because they're still unsigned and because Jerry Jones has, let's just say, some unique negotiating tactics when it comes to allegedly agreeing to a deal with Micah Parsons without his agent present, and considering that a hard agreement that he then didn't bounce off the agent and then expected it to all go through because of some handshake deal that they had one-on-one, when Micah Parsons has paid an agent obviously a hefty sum to negotiate for. None of it makes any sense. But the whole point of this video is that's intentional, because growing up, I always heard people mention that the Cowboys are America's team. And I was always just so confused as to why. And as I grew up more and watched more sports talk shows and read more articles and really followed the depths of the NFL, I don't know if the depths is the right word, but the ins and outs of the NFL, it just puzzled me more because they lead every talk show. They get the most time on these talk shows. They drive the most passionate responses. And yet, when I actually look at the Dallas Cowboys as a franchise, they haven't won the most Super Bowls. They're not in America's biggest city. They're like, their colors are cool. I like the metallic blue. It's nice, but it's not, a mind-poppingly amazing color scheme. They're like the 17th best franchise in the league for the last 25 years. They haven't won a Super Bowl since the mid 90s. All of it just puzzled me as to why they were always the most prominent topic in sports media, especially during these off seasons. And for the last three training camp seasons, it's been Dak's contract and CD's contract. And now this year, it's Micah's contract. And it's so funny because the reason why this becomes such a story is the same reason why people ask me, like, what is so great about sports? It's not, people ask me that all the time. Why do you love sports so much? And what I always tell them, to put it into general layman's terms, are it is the greatest reality TV show you could ever come up with. It's got a million different characters you can root for or root against. It's got primary teams and cities that you can root for. There's going to be a winner and a loser. You can talk as much as you want, but eventually you're going to have to prove it. And there's just constantly something else happening because, like I said, the NFL is a reality show. Obviously, it's not in that way, but it is. And nobody, nobody on planet Earth knows the NFL reality show and the reality of the reality show better than Jerry Jones. Because I got to be totally honest with you guys. I think Jerry Jones is the worst long-term GM in the NFL currently. I mean, Mickey Loomis with the Saints is definitely making his claim for that, considering what they've done the past couple of years. But I consider Jerry Jones to be one of the worst long-term GMs of all time and one of the worst pro sports owners ever. And that is not from a business sense, mind you. From a business sense, he is one of the greatest promoters. It's him, Vince McMahon, and Dana White in terms of promoting a brand and building it up to the point where you have individual sections dedicated to the thing that you promote. And he does that better than anybody. Obviously, I think he bought the Cowboys for something like $200 million. They're now worth like 14 billion. So, as a businessman, this is not a criticism on Jerry Jones in terms of his ownership. Obviously, on a financial front, he's one of the best owners in the history of pro sports. The issue with that is he will sacrifice team success for team marketability every single time, without fail, 24/7, 365 days a week. And there's no better example than what's happening right now. With Micah, the price is only going up and up. TJ Watt got paid a couple weeks ago. I think he got $40 million, maybe 41. I guarantee you, Micah is going to want more than that. And tell you the truth, he deserves more than that. He's 4 years younger than TJ Watt. He hasn't been paid yet. And when you have a young budding superstar like that, typically he resets the market. He doesn't just become the highest paid. He becomes the highest paid by quite a bit. It's what we saw with Justin Jefferson and all the deals that followed there. So all this is doing is A, making the price for Micah higher, B, making it so he's not in training camp learning a new defense with, again, a new head coach and new people around him. But Jerry Jones, please don't get me wrong, he would trade $7 million of his cap space for constant offseason headlines without even giving it a second thought. He is addicted to headlines, addicted to YouTube titles, addicted to talk shows. He is, and I want to be careful with my words here, he is the biggest megalomaniac in the history of professional sports. And I want to clearly define what I mean by megalomaniac. This is what dictionary.com says. This is not my personal definition. A person who is obsessed with their own power. I've never seen someone like Jerry Jones when it comes to his own power and the braggadocious attitude he has towards his power. He is the general manager. He is the owner. He is their PR representative. He is their pseudo head coach, it feels like. And he wants everybody to know it. I've got another quote coming up where he constantly says he'll never relinquish his general manager job. He has too much fun with it. He said, and I quote, "I bought the team. I think the first thing to come out of my mouth, somebody asked, 'Did you buy this for your kids?' I said, quote, 'Hell no. I bought it for me. And I didn't buy an investment. I bought an occupation.'" He really thinks that being the GM of the Cowboys is his set in stone position. And he's never going to relinquish that. And he's never going to relinquish his PR representative title either. Like, I guarantee you, if you offered Jerry Jones a Super Bowl right now, but the string attached was you can never talk to the media again. You can never hold one of your post-game scrums. You can never make your weekly appearance on Dallas local radio ever again. You are going to be Robert Kraft. You're going to be the owner in the shadows. I know Robert Kraft has kind of turned into a bit of a celebrity after the dynasty, but during which he was pretty much a quiet owner. If you had to be Robert Kraft, if that was the deal, I think he would laugh in your face. There is no chance he would accept that offer. He used to hide it better. He really did. But now as he's gotten older, and you see this with old people all the time, I'm sure with you all with grandparents out there notice, as they get older, they become a lot more loose with their dialect and their words. And in the promotion for this Netflix show that is coming about the Dallas Cowboys, more publicity, by the way, you know how much he loves that. He says, and I quote, "It's a soap opera, 365 days a year." Money, notoriety, and the Cowboys brand value means 95% of his ownership strategy, in my opinion, and the other 5% is dedicated to winning. He cares so much more about notoriety than winning football games. And that is, as a competitive guy and obviously a diehard sports fan, that is insane to me. In fact, it's somewhat sacrilegious. You play to win the games. Like, I don't know if that sounds old school or not, but I feel like that's just kind of the base that the rest of sports should be built on. You try your best to beat your opponents. And the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys doesn't care about that. He cares about his bottom line. Like, I personally could not imagine sitting in that owner's box as the Cowboys owner, most valuable franchise in the world, and watching my team get their asses kicked by their division rival Eagles year after year, by the Commanders last year, and just back to back, like really bad seasons, and not think that some kind of change needs to be made. But in his mind, what kind of change would have to be made? Like, the Cowboys are still the most valuable franchise, not just in the NFL, but in the world. I feel bad for Cowboys fans a little bit. Like, not a lot because they're obnoxious. And despite the fact that their owner doesn't care about Super Bowls, they still somehow claim that they're going to win the Super Bowl every single year without fail. But I'm sure that the fans want them to win, but they don't have a person in power who's aligned in that train of thought. He won Super Bowl, like, this is what people will always say when I go to one of the worst owners in pro sports. And again, need to preface, not from a business sense, purely from a football sense. Yes, I understand that he won 3 Super Bowls. He won them in his first couple of years as the team owner. But how did he win those Super Bowls? Well, he just so happened to go to college at Arkansas with one of the greatest coaches in the history of the sport, who he hired straight out of the gate. Now, how much credit does Jerry Jones get for hiring his college buddy to be his first NFL head coach? That's up to you, but I can't give him, like, a ton of credit for it. It's obviously a good decision, but there was definitely some interpersonal workings there. So, Jimmy comes to the Cowboys, and I know that Jerry was the GM at that time, but if you remember, Jimmy was coming straight out of college where he was winning national championships. I think he won a national championship before he went to the Cowboys. Anyways, very good college coach. So when he comes out of college to Dallas and the first 4 drafts are happening and he's part of that process, he's drafting guys that he already tried to recruit in college and had to scout against every single week and had to put game plans together to stop these guys who he's now drafting. So he had a huge edge on the entire league when it came to finding diamonds in the rough in that draft. And obviously, Jerry pulled off the Herschel Walker trade to get those picks, and that's the best move he's ever made and probably the best move he ever will make. But I refuse to believe that Jimmy Johnson's hand wasn't deep in that cookie jar when it comes to the guys that they were able to draft, that awesome offensive line they had, etc. So I think that had a lot to do with the Cowboys' early success, but Jerry still somehow found a way to ruin it again because of his pride and ego. He couldn't handle Jimmy getting all of the credit. He couldn't handle the fact that People thought that Jimmy Johnson built the team. The fact that he was the head coach, he was maybe the biggest star in Dallas at that time. I wasn't alive, so I can't say that with my chest out, but he was definitely a prominent figure. And Jerry Jones was not. He wasn't talked about like that. I know he wasn't because he fired him, despite the fact that he won 2 Super Bowls and helped architect this 90s Cowboys dynasty. And then he won one with Barry Switzer. God bless him. He fired Jimmy Johnson and won another Super Bowl. But again, those were Jimmy's guys that he won that Super Bowl with. It wasn't new Jerry Jones draft picks. It was still the bones and the rock, the foundation was all still the same. And again, I don't know how much influence Jerry Jones had into building that foundation. And since that Super Bowl, I feel like he's given us every right to question how much credit he actually deserved for that roster construction. Because since that Super Bowl, the Cowboys have, I kid you not, 2 less playoff wins than the New York Jets and 3 less playoff wins than the Jaguars and the Titans. Like, I didn't make that up. Not 1 less. They have 3 less than the Jaguars and the Titans. Now, they've actually been pretty good in the regular season. I think they're 12th since then. But you haven't made it to a conference championship game. You haven't even made it to the semis. And again, you have 3 less playoff wins than the Jaguars and the Titans, both of which are considered very fairly to be bottom of the barrel franchises. And yet again, why I keep calling him one of the worst owners in pro sports history, I don't think he cares. I really don't. I think as long as the Cowboys' valuation keeps going up, as long as this offseason, the Cowboys are all over these athletic headlines and opening these talk shows with Micah Parsons' contract negotiations, I think Jerry's as happy as a clam. And good for him. Like, I respect his business sense. Again, his promotion style is genius. And there is no doubt that his ownership, GM, PR role has done wonders in making the Cowboys the brand in the NFL. He's extremely captivating in front of a microphone because, again, you never know what he's going to say. He's quite unfiltered and becoming significantly more so as the years go on. But does that translate to winning? Answer is no. And again, I feel bad for Cowboys fans because I think it might be more of the same even when Jerry Jones is no longer a part of the Cowboys. Because, I mean, Micah's already saying that he requested his trade directly to Stephen Jones, so I can only assume that he's going to take over. And when you learn from your dad how to run a team and that team surges in value like times 2 quadrillion %, like, why would you change anything up? Why would you screw up the family business, the family recipe that's created $14 billion for the Joneses? So I don't know if brighter skies are coming to Dallas, but I do know until Jerry Jones relinquishes his GM roles at the very least, there is a massive conflict of interest going on in Dallas's front office because the GM doesn't actually want to win. The GM wants to make money because he's also the owner. And that's just not a recipe for success. Thank you, as always, for watching. I want to know, was what I said fair? Is it fair to call Jerry Jones one of the worst owners in pro sports? Again, not business, just purely based on the results. Is that fair? Please leave something in the comment section below to let me know. Any other thoughts you have? I'm small enough as to where I can read all comments and love doing so, so drop some down there. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed what you heard. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed it. The Spit Sports Show just hit over 400 subscribers. Big things happening on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching as always. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. Love you guys.